Hello! Sorry for the delay. It's been super busy. I've moved twice. I've started a new job. So it's been something of a crazy time for me. But I'm finally here and finally ready to finish up Philosopher's Stone. Of course, what I'm looking at is the very final chapter, which is The Man of Two Faces. Now, let's start with the normal things. Okay, all of you have probably seen something like this. This is how a story generally works. So you've got this area of just setting everything up, and then like, bam, crisis, and then action, 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 and then you hit the climax here, and this is what's known as the denouement. And that's sort of where you wrap everything up. And so the last chapter that we get in the book is actually sort of this climactic point plus all this denouement. You don't actually have another chapter for that. Now in truth, most books, even Philosopher's Stone, don't look exactly like this. It's more like this. So, like, Dursleys, you're a wizard, Harry! And then it's just like, action, rest, action, rest, action, rest. And then you get up to the climax. So these are points in time like meeting Fluffy for the first time, Midnight Duel, the first Quidditch game, the Dragon, the Forbidden Forest. There's actually quite a few. Now, you get this drop-down time as well. This is the rest, where they talk about what happened and they try and figure these things out. Now this drop-down time isn't usually like a full chapter. You might get to the end of a chapter, or sometimes there is a full chapter in between. Philosopher's Stone is really good about doing this sort of really awesome movement, and they're excellent with this final area. Because right at the beginning of that final chapter, they give you like that BAM! Sort of, oh, we screwed up big time in everything that we were thinking. It was Quirrell, is how that chapter starts. And that's, like, that just shows you sort of how out of their league these kids are. This entire time they're like, it's Snape, it's Snape, it's Snape, it's Snape, and they're getting all these hints, and we're getting those same hints, but they're drawing the wrong conclusion. Like, all these hints are logical, but they never once consider this other possibility. J.K. Rowling does not make her characters perfect, they screw up. And this is sort of one of their biggest ones, biggest for this book, and sort of in the long run, this is always going to be a question of where Snape stands. And that's all planted originally in this. So this chapter has that fantastic reveal right at the beginning, like, nope! Chuck Testa. No, it's Quirrell. And then you continue to get these revelations as the things going through. Voldemort's still here. In fact, he's in the back of Quirrell's head. And the question is, in fact, answered. This is sort of where the book differs from the movie. If you see the movie, when Harry first meets Quirrell in the Leaky Cauldron, he offers his hand and Quirrell sort of is like, and then at the end, Harry can't touch him. He can't be touched by Harry. He starts to burn. But in the book, it is specifically noted that Quirrell shakes Harry's hand. And so a lot of people are just like, except you couldn't because he'd start burning. But the thing is, when he first meets Harry, Voldemort is not in the back of his head. And it's a very small hint, but I'll read it here. When I failed to steal the stone from Gringotts, which we know happened on the day that Harry and Hagrid had gone, happened shortly after they had emptied that vault, he was most displeased. He punished me, decided he would have to keep a closer watch on me. And that's the point in time that Voldemort actually ends up in the back of Quirrell's head. And also the fun bit to go along with that is George and Fred threw snowballs in Voldemort's face, because they spelled snowballs off the back of Quirrell's turban. So fun times. So we get to have this really great reveal moment that shows sort of how out of his league Harry is, but it also shows how much Harry is willing to step up when he needs to. Because this becomes this moment where he just realizes, like, oh god, I had this wrong. I was preparing to meet somebody else. I was not prepared for this. I certainly wasn't prepared for Voldemort suddenly showing up. Like, let me speak to the boy. Like, I'm out of my league when it comes to the logic. I'm out of my league when it comes to the magic. I am out of my league. Probably originally he's thinking physically as well. Because of course he's looking at this as, this is an adult, and I am an 11-year-old boy. I don't have the strength to work here. Yet he has the courage to try anyways, and that is why I absolutely adore this character. He can screw up, he can be way out of his league, but he still recognizes that he is the one between the world and this danger. And he doesn't want to be there, but he will stand there as he is needed to stand there. So he goes to the mirror and he lies. Like, he legitimately lies, and he's caught in it, but he keeps to it because he recognizes, I'm like, I need to delay him. I need to survive this somehow. I cannot let this monstrosity, because that's what Voldemort is in that moment. Voldemort is no longer just a story or this thing that can't be named. Voldemort's always been something Harry can name, but now he has a physical thing to it, and it is as little human as possible, because it's this human face but in a position that is wholly unnatural to what a human should be. It's reversed. Instead of having the face in the front, we've now got this face on the back. It is reversed, and it is showing Harry that mirror of what he can become. And then we also get this temptation moment. I can bring back your parents. And Harry knows, like, Harry knows. Even if it's something that's possible, he's looking at the face of somebody that should be dead. And it is a monstrous thing. He knows that that's not ever something that he would want his parents to be. And in a lot of ways, he certainly hopes his parents wouldn't want to be it either. And he sticks by that, even when he's then attacked. And this has got to be an utterly horrific moment for a kid of 11. It's this moment of realization that I have this power physically within me to hurt other people. And Harry has to in this moment. It is a moment of self-defense. But it is also likely a moment where he realizes that this is not something he should ever do to something weaker than him. If he is attacked, he will defend himself. It never gets to the point where he's like, I wish I could put my hands on my aunt or uncle and have them burn. He never gets to that point. Harry makes the good decision here of not lusting after that power. He probably finds it very frightening. And I think, again, that's sort of a positive in his direction. I can do this, but it's not something I want to be able to do. And then we get the denouement. And it happens very quite smoothly. It's not like sort of this really awkward thing. It's a logical following. Like, he blacks out, he wakes up in the hospital wing. Like, this is normal. It doesn't suddenly jump to the train ride home. No, it actually gives us that moment of his awakening, of this, like, oh my god, there's all this information you need to know. And Dumbledore's there to say, yeah, I have it. But the other really important thing about this is the denouement was actually extremely important, especially for a series of books, because this is what's going to bring you back to it. This is the part that says, hey, this story isn't actually done yet. There's still more to it. Rowling is actually amazingly good at hinting at other bits and pieces. One of the big ones is, here's the moment, Quirrell said Snape. Professor Snape, Harry. Yes, him. Quirrell said he hates me because he hated my father. Is that true? Well, they did rather detest each other, not unlike yourself and Mr. Malfoy. And then your father did something Snape could never forgive. What? He saved his life. What? Yes, said Dumbledore dreamily. Funny the way people's minds work, isn't it? Professor Snape couldn't bear being in your father's debt. I do believe he worked so hard to protect you this year because he felt that would make him and your father quits. Then he could go back hating your father's memory in peace. And suddenly you're just like, what? Like, you are Harry in this moment of, what? Like, how? Like, what happened? Explain this to me. And she doesn't, but she gives you enough that you're hoping as you read the books that you're gonna figure this out. Hinting at what Neville's capable of. There are all kinds of courage, said Dumbledore, smiling. It takes a great deal of bravery to stand up to your enemies, but just as much to stand up to our friends. So we get the hint of what Neville will be capable of. We want to see him grow and take on this role that we believe he's possible. As some people have pointed out, Harry is raised to defeat one man. Neville is raised to defeat an army. And that's something that we even get a hint of in this moment. I also just simply appreciate some of the lines that Rowling uses in this very first book to just keep reminding you that there's an importance to it. It's not just a children's book. It's got real, true meanings, no matter what stage of life you're in. It covers everything. One of my favorites. After all, to the well-organized mind, death is the next great adventure. The stone was really not such a wonderful thing. As much money and life as you could want. The two things most human beings would choose above all. The trouble is, humans do have a knack of choosing precisely the things that are the worst for them. That is a very deep message to really anybody. Fear of a name increases fear of the thing itself. Like, that's always going to be something that people need to remember and to know and be willing to recognize. We also get the hint of the prophecy right at the beginning. So there are all these bits and pieces we want to keep coming back for. We want to know the characters. We want to know Harry and Neville and Hermione and Ron and Dumbledore. We want to know these moments of incidents between James and Snape. What's this prophecy? Where's Voldemort? And I think we also want to come back for all of these lessons we're learning. Those moments that the characters actually reach out and take our hands. In these moments of reassurance that we're okay to be scared. We're okay to stand up to our friends. And we're okay to recognize that we're mortal. Those are things that all of us go through, and that's okay. And we will get through, and we will keep going. And I will keep going. So we finished up Philosopher's Stone, and I'm finally sort of back into a regularness. So my aim is to upload one video every Sunday. There might be a few interruptions, particularly around holidays, but that's really my aim, is to do every Sunday for this series and keep it going. So, until next Sunday, have a good time and enjoy your reading.